3 months ago, we launched Copa 90's biggest competition ever. And after receiving thousands of entries from all around the world, we at Copa 90 have selected 18 finalists spread across 6 continents. Now, it's time for you, the Copa fam, to decide. Welcome to Copa 90's In Search Of. We're traveling across 6 continents to find 6 new presenters. We've asked our finalists to show us their story, their passion, and what they can bring to Copa 90. And we're kicking it all off here in my hometown, Melbourne, where we're going to meet the first of our 3 Oceania finalists, Alex Giannakis.
Hi, I'm Alex Giannakis, and welcome to Melbourne. This is my family's restaurant, The Graham. I like to come in here after early morning Champions League games and talk football with my dad and my uncle. This is really where my football education started, and it allowed me to extend my knowledge of the game and grow my passion.
How much does she love football?
Oh look, she lives it. She gets up out of bed at 4 or 5 in the morning and watches live games. Close the bar at 12. We're there till 2 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning, watching an Arsenal game, watching a Socceroo game. You know, and I share it with my eldest daughter. It's like, you know, it's like a dream come true.
I can see where the passion comes from. You've got a great family. I'm very jealous.
This is the Lakeside Stadium, formerly known as the Bob J. It's where I watched my first South Melbourne Hellas game as a kid. And from here, my passion for football really grew.
For you, I mean, obviously you've got Melbourne City as well as your team. Is that your first, who comes first in all of this?
You know, City, obviously, I feel quite obliged to follow a club that plays in the National League, but the South Melbourne, this is really where my heart is.
And in terms of like what you like to do for Copa 90, is Greece an angle you like to take, or perhaps clubs with an ethnic heritage? Is there anything aligned with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to tell stories like this, especially, obviously, South Melbourne, very special place in my heart, but there's plenty of clubs across Melbourne and all over Australia just like this, and a lot of untold stories that I feel the world needs to hear. Despite Melbourne being home of the AFL, Australia's very own brand of football, the A-League has created a new generation of sporting fans, spreading football across the country.
The derby's not that old, but obviously means quite a bit, right?
It means everything. Every derby that City wins, it's a massive deal. If City won away today, you wouldn't hear the end of it for the rest of the season.
I want to hear you, I want to hear you. This is your moment.
The greatest thing this City, I think.
I don't know what just happened then, back there, but that was insane.
Seriously, it only gets better from here. Inside, it's going to be on another level. City victory fans singing against each other. The A-League's only been here for 10 years and already filling stadiums with 40,000 people. Shows how far the game has come in 10 years and how far it has to go. Where are we going to be 10 years from now? We just equalised. It's anyone's game right now.
Why would you like to do this?
What I would give to do this for a living, watch football, tell people football stories. It's the dream, man. It's the dream. It's something I've wanted to do since I was a kid.
This could possibly be the start of it all.
Oh, don't.
Copa 90, it's crazy. I was like you 2 years ago. Well, Alex in Melbourne, you've started In Search Of in the best possible way. So much so I've actually lost my voice, but that is not stopping us, and that's why we are now in Brisbane for our second set of finalists, the presenting duo that is Tim and Luke.
Hi guys, I'm Tim.
And I'm Luke.
And welcome to the Sunshine Coast.
Alright, so Tim, Luke, this is where you're from, right?
Yeah, Caloundra on the Sunshine Coast. It's really laid back, casual atmosphere, always at the beach.
You guys support Brisbane, well, that's your local team. Well, we came from Brisbane and it took us about an hour, got 100k on the highway. Is that the trick you make every time?
Every game, mate, home or away, that's where we need to be with our mates, drink beers, watch the football.
Despite the fact you actually live quite near each other, it was through the raw you became mates.
One game was just in the stadium. We were singing a chant next to each other. I think we scored a goal, we hugged each other, and just like that, we bonded.
I mean, if anything, that's exactly what Copa 90 is always going on about, that unity, that community that football provides. To show us what football means to them, the guys decided to take us to a club that's close to their hearts.
So we're here at the Brisbane Paralympic Football Program, which is an inclusive community program for kids of all abilities to play football. The founder of this is actually a dad of a mate of ours, and he's been running this out of his own pocket for the last 10 years.
It's stories like this that Luke and myself are really interested in telling, that are driven by the power of football. They get the community involved, they help everyone out, and it's what we want to go on and discover in the world if we go on to Win in Search of.
What was sort of the motivation for you behind starting this whole program?
I have a son with cerebral palsy, so I formed a program to specifically allow him to play football. There was no other club that would accept him because of his disability. That same child now is getting flown all over the world playing football for Australia.
It's our first home game of the season. We got the 3 points away. Let's try and get the job done today. Come on, Brisbane!
We're inside the stadium now.
The dad's behind us, they're going mental.
It's Sunday, it's football, let's have it.
Shoot!
Being a Brisbane Roar fan has been a roller coaster ride for most of us over the years. From the joy of 3 championships in 4 years to the despair of player wages not being paid that saw one of our best players leave on a free transfer.
Shoot!
I mean, to be a Copa 90 presenter, what would that mean?
It'd mean that we get to get out there in the football community, almost give something back to the game that's given us our life, really. That's what our life revolves around.
Friendship, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's football fans, but every football fan has a story to tell, and it's just being able to find that story, and I think that's what we can bring to the Copa fam.
That's 2 cities down and 2 great sets of finalists, but there's still one to go in Oceania, and she lives here in Sydney. Her team's playing in the derby this weekend. We've arrived just in time for it. Let's go meet Tatiana.
Hi, I'm Tatiana Sharba, and welcome to where I now call home, Sydney, Australia. I moved to Australia when I was 16, armed with what I thought was a secret tool to help connect with people. I wasn't in Sydney long before I realised that that was something immigrant communities had been doing in this city for the most part of last century. Football is everywhere in Sydney, especially in the West. These clubs were formed by immigrant communities to represent their culture in a new society.
We need to know about Marconi.
Post-World War II, Italian immigrants arrived in Australia and they formed a football club because they needed something to help soften the blow, like the harshness of immigration. It's like we say football is a universal language, and I guess that was their first sort of bridge building towards making their way into the community. Three years ago, this club was formed and it captured the heart of Western Sydney because it represents everyone, regardless of their culture. You've now got Italian Marconi fans supporting a club coached by a player of a rival team growing up. You've got Serbian fans cheering on a team and they're led by Croatian capos. South American fans taken to games as children so they could feel like they were a part of a community, and now they're bringing their flavour to this community. You see, 50 years ago, the immigrants of this city started to use football as a way to help find their place in society, and 50 years later, I found mine. This is where we get pumped up. This gives us a flavour of what's to come later.
if you were to win the job, what would you like to focus on?
I thought I knew as much about football as I could possibly know. And just through it, just in the short amount of time, I've learned so much and just realised there's no boundary as to how much you can learn. For me, it's the human connection. So it'll be sort of what it means to people, how they are able to relate to others. And there's just some great footballing stories out there that I'd love to tell.
That's it for our first continent, our first episode. We experienced the unbelievable passion of the Melbourne derby with Alex, the mix of beach and city football culture with the boys in Brisbane, and we saw how immigrant communities are helping propel the game in West Sydney with Tatiana. So click the link on the screen and help decide who's going to join Copa 90 in Oceania.